It's an absolute pleasure to welcome in Jets forward and Mr. 1000, Paul Stastny. We got the 1000 in the background. This is a heck of a setup, Paul. Congratulations. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How
Uh,
are you?
you know what? I'm doing well. I think everyone in Winnipeg, whether you're associated with the team or just a fan, probably feeling a lot better last night after just a great team win looking into the playoffs. But I think the tone was really set right off the bat with that wonderful ceremony the Jets put on for you and the family. A lot of great memories for fans. I can't imagine what that was like for you to be a part of, Paul.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was first class all the way. I think I had expectations to know. I don't know. You kind of have expectations, but then you don't know, right? With no fans there, and they nailed it. I think from day one since I've been in this organization, everything's been first class. The way I've been treated, the way my family and kids have been treated, and the way they do everything, kind of behind the scenes. And I think for your fans out there that don't really see it, got to see it yesterday firsthand, and yeah, just very, very blessed, very thankful to reach that milestone, have my family with me, and to do it with the Winnipeg Jets.
Speaking of your family, your kids looked so cute with the jean jackets and your boy with that little custom hat. I think some fans want to get their hands on one of those to help celebrate 1000. But the coup de grace had to be the mini silver sticks. I mean, you play 1,000 games in the NHL. They give you this beautiful silver stick. And even right now in our chat, everyone's talking about the sticks that your kids got last night, Paul. How did that go over with the youngins?
Yeah, they loved it. I think my wife was saying, that my son was like playing mini sticks, later that night, and even today, still using that stick. I'm like, all right, maybe he don't want to scratch the floors or put a hole in the wall, but if that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Yeah, you see different things when different guys hit 1,000. It doesn't happen often. I think if you look, it probably happens 3, 4, 5 times a year. Now you might see it more often just because guys come in at 18 and play, at such an early age. But I didn't know what to expect. I knew my wife would get flowers, and then I was just hoping the kids, would have a good time. And then when I found out they were having the silver sticks, I think made me jealous and made everyone else jealous. And I think that's such a cool touch that the Winnipeg Jets got to do.
Well, Dad still got the big one and earned every inch of that silver stick. It was a great way to start things off, and I think the team really responded. Before we talk about the game, though, what was it like hearing from all those former players that you went to war with, that had so much respect for you, from all of your teams popping in to say their own congrats, even though they now are opponents when you're getting out after it on the ice.
Yeah, that's very like humbling and flattering. I think that those are the words that mean the most, are the people you look up to, your peers, people that were your mentors growing up, whether it's family members, whether it's teammates that were older than you, or whether it's teammates that you try to help out that are younger than me. Those are the guys. A lot of those guys that talk are guys I respect the way they play the game. I respect the way they carry themselves off the ice. So when they do say nice things, it means a lot. And like I said, I think my wife and I are very low key people. I think we would rather, help people and then kind of stay out of the limelight than be in the limelight. But, it's nice sometimes, but at the same time, it's very overwhelming. And like I said, we're very blessed with how many good friends we have, how many people that, have been affected by this or know us through hockey. And hockey's been in my blood my whole life. And yesterday and even today, I mean, the outpouring we've gotten on Instagram or text messages all day, even my wife, even my mom, it just shows you how small world it is and how much an impact you can have on people, not just what you do on the ice, what you do off the ice.
Paul Stastny's with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, just after completing his 1,000th game in the National Hockey League in that big 5-1 win for the Jets last night at Bell MTS Place. Just before we get to the team and looking ahead, I wanted to ask you, Paul, about, being a kid, growing up as, part of a legendary worldwide hockey family. We all remember your father, along with his brothers, playing in the NHL. Like, when you were a kid, like 6, 7 years old, I mean, how much did that resonate with you? Did you always literally sort of just grow up at the rink? And, for being someone with European roots, what was it like being sort of a first-generation American son of an NHL legend?
Yeah, it's, when you're that young, you don't even know any better or any different, right? And I think it was just in our bloodlines. I think my brother and I would always kind of want to be on the ice, kind of follow my dad. But it was different then too, because now you have a lot more access as kids to get to the game, to sit, on the glass for warm-ups. The wives usually are different, right? The kids are involved a lot more than they were back then. And maybe they might have been, but it was different too, because, I was the youngest of four, and we're all, from the oldest to youngest, we're 6 years apart. So it was probably a handful for my mom. But yeah, they never, it was just, for us, it was always just go out there and enjoy, have fun, and be yourself, right? They never, my dad, my uncles, it was never about the Stas name. It's just about kind of modeling yourself, and then, carry yourself the right way and make that Stastny name, be proud of it, have a lot of pride in it. But if it goes long ways in hockey, if it doesn't matter. It's not who they care. It's more about the way we're raised and the way we are, and the values that were kind of brought upon us.
I got to ask you about the start of your NHL career, because Murat Atesh, who's a great friend of ours, did a great long read in The Athletic and talking to some of the people that you played with and grew up with. And, he mentioned, and I think a lot of people wouldn't know this, I mean, you were, star drafted at the University of Denver and then moved over to the Avalanche and were still essentially, staying at your old dorm. And tell us about making your NHL debut in the city that you were playing college hockey, that you had so many roots in.
Yeah, I mean, I was just lucky, right? I obviously played at University of Denver. That was my first year, was the year of the lockout. So then Colorado probably got to see me play a lot more in other teams just because it was right down the street. So I think that was kind of a blessing in disguise, for the lockout to happen that year and then to get drafted by Colorado. Then my sophomore year, I kind of made a big jump. I honestly, it was different then, because after my sophomore year, my dad, my agent, and myself kind of talked, and we knew, I had to make the jump to the professional ranks. And whether it was NHL or AHL didn't matter. For me to keep developing as a player, I had to play against like better, stronger players, because I was going to get played. You can only play one level so much before you quit getting better, and especially at development age. And so we almost reached out to Colorado, saying we're ready to make the jump. So when I went to training camp, I had no expectations of making the team. And then even when I did make the team, I don't think Joel Quinville ever told me to get an apartment. I was so naive that I was thinking, like, my dad's every day is like, did you get the message? Like, to go get an apartment, this or that. So I kind of just stayed in my apartment there on campus with my teammate, Peter Menino. And then he thought I was leaving. So then, Joey Mullen's kid, Patrick Mullen, ended up staying there too. So at one time we were three of us shacking up. And then I think halfway through the year, I finally got my own apartment.
Yeah, right beside a Taco Bell. We hear a real love. Did you have any? Tacos last night after 1,000?
No. I think everything was closed. So just got home. Got to spend some time with the wife before the kids fell asleep, and then we'll celebrate after the season. When things kind of settle down and everyone can get together. Because to us, it's not about myself or my family, or my wife. I think it's more about like the supporting cast and everyone that kind of did their thing to help us, put me in this position. And I'm very thankful and very blessed to have all those family members and friends around me that kind of pushed me and helped me become who I am.
Well, you and the rest of the team sure got the job done last night. Let's talk quickly about that 5-0 win over Vancouver. Explosion from the top line, shutout from Connor Hellebuyck, and it seems like the team overall, Paul, is doing more of the things that they need to, that really you talked about in depth after the loss to Edmonton a couple weeks, to prepare for the playoffs. How do you feel about last night's game and the way that you and the Jets are trending going into a series against Edmonton?
Yeah, even the last couple of games I thought were good. We might have made one or two mistakes and that kind of went against us. And that's the way it was kind of going. We had so many chances, nothing was going in. We'd give up one kind of not even a grade A chance and go in, and sometimes that can get frustrating, but I think you just got to stick with it. And eventually it'll start going in. And, we won 5-0, top line was scoring, but all the other lines were creating a lot of chances. I think we know what we have to do defensively through the neutral zone to play our game. And now it's about kind of fine tweaking things offensively, but almost sticking with it too, because, Appleton yesterday had 3 breakaways. He finally scores late, but he has 5-6 grade A chances like that throughout the playoffs. 2 or 3 could go in, but the way things have been going in the last couple of weeks, it wasn't going our way. But I don't think we didn't really hang our heads. I think, we were pissed off, and the next day we get back to work. And I think Paul does a good job of kind of sending a message about, don't get too caught up in the highs and lows, because that's playoff hockey, right? So if you have a bad game, you got to forget it. You're pissed off that night, you forget about it, and the next day you go right back to work, because no one remembers or cares about what happened the game before. Only in playoffs, it really is, that game, that present day moment is really what matters. And I think we're taking the right steps. I think we're confident in what we're doing. And, Friday's game will be it's kind of a weird game, because it's kind of a meaningless game for both teams. So you just hope you get, you do some good things right, and then both teams stay healthy before playoff starts.
And of course, then next week it's the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. You've played, against, many of the greats of this generation. Talk to us just for a minute about the challenge of going up against the Edmonton Oilers, and specifically trying to hold down number 97 and number 29.
Yeah, you're not going to stop them, right? You want to limit their chances. So, but it's tough when you play game breakers or superstar players like that, because they can do nothing all game and all of a sudden have one shift in the third period and score 2 goals, and that's the difference between winning and losing. But at the same time, I think we know what they have, but also we got a lot of game breakers in our team. So I know we want to focus on kind of almost playing a 5-man team defense against them. You can't really. There's no one guy who's going to shut down anybody, right? You got to do it as kind of a committee of 5, and even if it's not 5, it's almost 3-4 lines where we got to be smart about it. Know what to do when certain guys are out there. But obviously, special teams is going to be really important. I feel like the games that we won or lost against Edmonton this year, some of those games 5-on-5 were pretty even, and they might have had the upper hand in special teams, or another game we had the upper hand in special teams. I think when it comes to playoff hockey, the games are a lot less scoring, and I think special teams really makes a difference, whether it's early in the game or late in the game.
I know. The coaches will have you guys well prepared. I know there'll be lots of video. You do have a lot of body of work against this club this year.
Yeah.
And, things change throughout the season. The last number of games haven't gone well for the team. Is the season series something that you completely put in the rearview mirror and don't think about, or is that something that you really do spend a lot of time on to learn what didn't go well to give you a better chance for a better result come playoff time?
Yeah, I think this year is unique because we played them 9 times, I think, or 8 or 9 or 10 times every team. So really, like you said, normally you have a lot of video going into playoffs. I feel like this year you don't need it because we played them early in the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and I can remember the last 4 or 5 games, what worked, what didn't work, what needs to change, and what things we need to harp on. And so in that sense, it's kind of nice because you know exactly what every team brings, at least for the first 2 rounds, and so does every team in the NHL going to the playoffs. And it feels like every time we play a team, I think Paul always has a good message about okay, well, this is the things we have to change if we do end up playing Toronto or Edmonton. This is and this is stuff the last 2 weeks that we've been harping on, that once we clinched that playoff spot, we knew we were going to play one of those 2 teams. A lot of the things we try to do in our game is to be ready for when we do play potentially Edmonton or Toronto. Now that we play Edmonton, we know the things that we want to adjust in our game plan, things that we want to bring forward to be successful.
Paul, I've got to ask you about one teammate in particular, both for what he does for you guys on the ice, but also just the unique character that he is. You've played all around the league. You played with stars. You've played with great goalies. You played against great goalies. Tell us about what Connor Hellebuyck brings to your team as far as, just that confidence level that he gives you guys on the ice, and maybe talk about him as an individual, because I have to say he's maybe the most interesting interview every single time, because there doesn't seem to be a filter. He shoots as straight as it comes, and maybe that's a goalie thing as well.
Yeah, he of all the guys, I think from when I was here 3 years ago to now, I think he's changed. I don't say he's changed that much, but I've seen his demeanor change, where he's almost gotten into a point where he just worries about himself, and if we have a bad night and we're absolutely horrendous and he lets in 10 goals, he shoulders all the blame. He'll never blame any of us. When some nights I'm like, hey, you can, that's on us. And, he never takes that demeanor. He knows it comes with territory of being a goalie, but I think all he wants to do is win, and I think that's the best part about him. It's we all know he's a top 3, one of the Vezina is the top goalie in this league on any given night. And I think that gives us the confidence to play a different style, knowing that we have him in the back. But day in, day out, I think he's been so even keel. And in the locker room after a big win, after a loss, we know what we're going to get out of him. He's very consistent. And, he's made a few mistakes this year, but that's nothing. Everyone makes way more mistakes than that, and then sometimes, because it's a goalie, right? It's like a pitcher in baseball. Everyone focuses on that. But he's kind of like that calming presence for us. And that's what you need as I guess, a leader when you're the last man, to kind of backstop everything. I think we kind of see the way he is and how cool and calm collective he is. And I think we kind of just feel that vibe of him and kind of roll with it.
Paul Stastny with this here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, coming off 1,000 games in the National Hockey League and getting the silver stick. Paul, I just, before we go, I've got to ask you, we'll be talking all about the playoffs and everything going forward, but from just a veteran's perspective, you've now got 1,000 games in. How weird has this year been like for you, your teammates, and maybe just kind of, if you could give the fans a little bit of an eye behind what life has been like for you, playing in empty buildings, staying together the whole time? And I'm sure you're thankful to be able to continue to work and do all that, but I imagine this has been just sort of like a twilight zone for you for the last 12 or 13 months.
Yeah, it's been like a Groundhog Day. Like I said, I could look at the negatives or the positives. It's nice that we're playing. It's nice around the teams. Sometimes I feel it's tough for, our wives or girlfriends or the kids. You want to make it, obviously they want us to be comfortable. Myself, I want them to be comfortable. You just miss interacting with people. You miss going to hotels. And when we're in Vancouver during the season, we'd see people outside. You'd see people in the lobby and you're like, oh, this is kind of getting back to normal. And you realize like you can do all these Zoom calls, with the media. We do Zoom calls with media, but sometimes you just miss kind of hang out with guys, not talking hockey, and really getting to know other people. And I think that's the one thing that we all take for granted. And I think once things do get back to normal, you realize how much you miss that. And we're almost used to living this life right now, and that sucks. But when we get back to it, whether it's you really appreciate those friendships you make with people and just communicating with other people. I think we're meant to be around other people. That makes us better people. And sometimes you get locked down so much, you start living in this bubble a little bit, and you start overthinking things. You start getting paranoid. You start having anxiety. And then I think when you get out and just see other people and just relax with and talk about life and not just hockey itself, then it just, makes you less stressful and lets you enjoy life a little more. But it comes with the challenges. I think we're happy we're going to play. We knew it was going to be a weird year like that. And, yeah, that's been the one thing is like a lot of times all the cities we've gone to when we stay at that hotel, we're basically the only ones at that hotel. So it's kind of like a very eerie feeling, kind of like a zombie land kind of presence to it. But, it comes with the territory.
Well, fingers crossed we get these shots going, and soon we'll have fans back in the building. I know all Jet fans missed the opportunity to celebrate 1,000 with you last night and give you that very deserved standing ovation, but chances that the hopes are that, we'll have a lot more Jets hockey to talk about in the weeks and months to come, and there will be plenty of those standing O's going forward. Paul, we've just been hearing nonstop for the last couple days how much, people appreciate what you've done in the National Hockey League. It was pretty obvious last night how appreciative the Winnipeg Jets are of your contributions. We're hearing it from the fans nonstop. Just thank you again. Congratulations on 1,000, and best of luck when you and your teammates go up against the Oilers in the playoffs next year. We can't wait.
Yep. Thank you very much. And obviously hope to be talking to you, not just next week, but in the, next 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks coming forward.
Hey, thanks so much, Paul. We appreciate it. Good luck.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
There he is, Mr. 1000 himself, Paul Stastny, joining us live on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. That was awesome. And I think most people probably with us today watching last night, you heard Paul's interview with Sarah and Paul's interview afterwards, and maybe he was a little bit more introspective just because of what a big day it was for him. But it was some of the longest, most thoughtful answers that, honestly, most times now today in pro sports, especially with the lack of, real, as Paul mentioned, sort of face-to-face contact, you don't get. And he was just phenomenal. We can't thank him enough. Thanks to Scott and the guys over at the Jets for helping us set that up today. And I know a lot of fans happy to hear from Paul Stastny, and certainly want to give the chance for us to, once again, wish him well on 1,000, and here's to many, many more